still watch war films? Does he like looking at them?
We've got loads. We've watched We Dive at Dawn, because they use the tuna in part of that, you know, in We Dive at Dawn. Quentin says so in there. They used part of the film, but that's one of the best. We Dive at Dawn. We've got the American ones. We've got Down Periscope, that's funny, and we've got Up Periscope, that's a comical one, and then we've got so many, I think. What's that one with no, the one, what's it called? That American one. That's not bad.
What about?
Submarine.
What is that one?
Wasn't it?
Do you like We Dive at Dawn?
Yeah, it's John Mills here for you.
Yeah, John Mills, yeah.
Yeah,
What do you think about the film Cockleshell Heroes?
I thought it was rubbish.
Why is it rubbish?
Well, see, at the end of the tour, well, I'm not sure it's rubbish.
Yeah.
Couldn't see it on bicycles to go and see. They come from the north of England, right through and then...
No, the two were waving on the side and laughing.
Yes,
they weren't.
yeah.
They were running for their lives.
Of course they were.
And they, you know, in the film, they had them go up north, dress as Germans, parachuted down, and they had to find their own back. They did not do that at all.
Yeah, of course they didn't.
I mean, the Duke of Edinburgh told them, it's in this book, Quentin,
Well, they
makes
made
you
it,
laugh. He said that the Duke, on 1955, it was shown at the Empire, and Elizabeth Taylor was there, and the Duke of Edinburgh and his uncle Admiral Mountbatten, and it said it could be seen that Admiral Mountbatten and the Duke were whispering all the way through it. So they called this Broccoli chap down that did the film.
Cubby Broccoli?
Yes, and they said, the Duke said, you've missed the whole point of the film. Because the whole point of the film, they put limpet mines on the boats, because those boats were going out from Germany with radar on for Japan. The reason they're on about it was the first combined operation between Army and Navy, the very first one, and it was very dangerous really, because if you read that book, they were several days trying to get to the point where they could put them down, but it kept getting delayed until the 7th, and it was just about right to put them down, but of course they didn't reckon on that riptide. Two of them were thrown out straight away, but, and also the riptide kept on up the Gironde River too. It was very, very unstable really. But,
They've got one of these cockleshells down at Malden Museum.
Yeah, well, Quentin, who wrote the book, is going down there to give a talk and sign books. I said when to him, so he said, well, April probably, but he's on the One Show as well. He'll be on the One Show, and he's going to borrow one of the cockles from the...
How old are you now?
Museum.
Oh, 100.
No, you're not. He's going to be 95 on the 29th of April. That's the royal wedding day. 94 now, be 95 soon.
And how long have you been living in Chelmsford?
Well, he lived in Chelmsford years ago because he worked with, you know, Captain Rakes was the publicity manager at Marconi's. He got Ray a job there, and my husband worked there, and that's how we're friends, because... Ray,
your late husband, what's his name?
Ralph Walker.
How long have you been caring for Ray?
Well, he really moved back here in about 2003, but he was coming up on long sort of weeks holiday. They both lost their other halves in '96, you see, and he rang the night we buried my husband to say his wife had died 3 months earlier.
Oh, what was her name?
The timing, wasn't it?
Oh, what, 96?
No, what was his wife's name?
Oh, Eileen.
It sort of fate brought you together, really?
Again, yeah,
for
because
companionship.
we lost touch, you see. He moved down to Paynton, that was his home.
Right.
Well, when did you leave Marconi's? Somewhere late 60s, wasn't it?
Yes, it was.
Oh, yes, Simon was born in 65 and you were still here when my son was born. Well, we didn't hear from him, you see, and that's, I say, my husband died in Finland, my son works in Finland, my husband died in the snow there, so the day we buried my husband, Ray rang in the evening and told me that but Ralph would have loved to have seen Ray again. In fact, when we went to Finland the last time, he said, I wish we could hear from Ray Quick. But Ray Quick did various jobs in Paynton. He became a curator at Dartmouth Castle, and although he was retired, he was doing things like that. Writing and typing the whole time when he first came here.
What's your memory like of the Cockleshell Heroes?
Good, yeah. Well, I'd written it all down.
Yes, he's written it in his book, of course, but I'm reading him the book gradually, because he's a wonderful writer, that Quinton Rees. He came up and saw Ray. He came...
How many years ago did he start it?
Well, it was about a couple of years ago. I had to send the papers down to him. We had all the newspapers to send down, and then he came up and brought him, because Ray used to use his rum ration for doing raisins in rum, and he had them in his office, because he had an office to himself on the submarine, and they had what was he, something at Meadows, Henry Meadows, Sir Henry Meadows. He was on the Tuna, and he used to go in and eat them with them. They were eating raisins in what Quinton did. He brought him a jar up on the 31st of March with 4 new memorials on the BBC, because Quinton will be going. This was Malcolm Cavern's idea, because the only thing that was up that's knocked down by a car in France, and he said there was no proper memorial, so there's one to the Marines, one to the Tuna, one to somebody else. There's about 4, that sort of thing. It's already been over there and with stonemasons, and they took tons of Portland cement with them to do it, so that's going to be on the 31st of March.
Hopefully Quinton will bring back some photographs for him.
I think Malcolm Cavern will as well, because you see, this is how they were going to be. But Quinton's written all about the French patriots as well that helped them, because they were only the only 2 cockles that came back. They were helped by the French partisans to get back. Took them 3 months to get back. Funny, I mean, Sparks, when they arrested him, I mean, I can't remember why, but so these are some of the French people there, but that's what it was Malcolm Campbell's idea to do the pictures, you see. I bought that picture, and he rang me up, Malcolm, and he said, I've got the first Sea Lord to sign it. That's Mark Stanhope, all right? And the Sea Lord also sent him this. And he sent Ray his compliments. Captain Raikes had the power to stop the thing. He was really in charge, because they had a terrible time putting them down, because the RAF have laid mines in the particular area that they had to put them down in. And of course the Germans had mines there as well. But if you read this book, if you get this book, it tells you how harassed they were to get them down. And he's that's the first Sea Lord there. He's written all that, you see, for the book.
So you're very much part of the adventure, aren't you?
Well, we've contributed to the stone. So Malcolm Cavern said that we'll be part of the memorial because we've helped them buy it. It's costing 70,000. I mean, we didn't send thousands, but we sent some money anyway.
How many tattoos do you have? Oh wow!
And he's got snakes up here. Look.
Yeah.
There.
All right.
Go right
you must
up.
be a sailor. Do you have any on your chest?
He says
and
that's
back?
a nurse.
Oh, very lovely. What, do you remember her name?
It's just made up. Come here.
She looked very Scandinavian.
Oh yeah, I know who they are. What they are.
Well, you told me that was a nurse.
Oh, it was a nurse, yeah.
That's a bird. There's the nurse.
Well, there was a nurse somewhere, and I met her in...
Oh, you met her? Oh,
well, I was a really young man. Really boy, really, and somewhere in America, I don't know. I didn't marry her, did I?
No, Eileen wasn't a nurse. This one is still alive. He was the reserve Marine. He's 90 now, that one, but he didn't take part in the raid. He was just reserve in case they needed him. But he lives up north.
But was he on tuna?
Oh, yes.
Right.
Oh, yes. He brought all the letters back from the Marines. They wrote last letters, you see, to their loved ones. And Colonel Hasler gave him the diary to bring back. Yes, he was the chief telegraphist. So if you read the book, Quinton says he was very important because he had...
Petty officer.
Yeah, and he did the final one when the raid was over. It was called Frankton. They done it. That was. He says he quotes it in here.
Were you always a submariner, or were you on boats as well?
No, he was on big boats first. Because they paid 1 and 6 more a day on submarines, he ordered a submarine. HMS Malaya, then HMS Delhi.
Delhi, yeah.
And HMS Basilic.
Yes, that's right. You wonder what class it is,
and of course Raymond was on about 6 different submarines. You didn't keep on the same one, they kept moving you about, but he was on the tuna for the raid.
You see, when I joined them before the war, you were only allowed to do 5 years in them. Then the medicals brought you out, but of course that was rubbish because they all went by the board in the war.
There's Ray there, and there's Captain Rates there.
I always had a clean sweater. So my wife made me think, oh, what's on the front of it there, you see? She's put my name on it, and nobody questioned. I used to wander around with it.
As well, it'd be on the one show, and he's going to borrow one of the cockles from the museum. So.
Yeah, the thing is that the Admiralty, in their wisdom, they said everyone on as it goes to sea, not me, the ship they were talking about, would have worldwide communication. So no matter where you were in the world, you would whack a signal back just like that to them in London, you see.
And was it all Marconi equipment?
Most of it was, yes, Marconi, but a lot of it was already in the boat when they were built in the yard, you see.
But you had to put the first bit of radar in, they had early radar.
The first one they had to put in a submarine, not a big ship, and this thing, we came back from these cockles, we dumped them, they dumped them, the ones that were left in Plymouth. He chucked me down on the jetty and said, get round to Portsmouth. I went round to Portsmouth, and they had this sort of crude radar thing, you know, and they sent us to see if they were any good. But didn't do anything any good. We went to see it, particularly right, and this thing was, well, I don't know, describe it, but when you looked at it, all it had was grass at the top, you see, but every time we got a little ripple, it indicated that there was somebody there. You know, in the indicator to me, his words to me were, I said, look, it's no good, is it? He said, shut the bloody thing off. Yeah, well, we could listen, you see. We went on, you see, the zones were split. They had the Mediterranean, China, I was in China. When war broke out, I'd been there 3 years ago. Yeah,
you were there before the war, though. He was 2 years out there. And then they got the signal that the war had started, so they had to come
sat
back.
down, and the war said, special telegram. They're written down somewhere. I kept them, the 2 telegrams, and then they made these telegram codes come through. And then the plain language come afterwards and said, commence hostilities with Germany and Italy or whatever. Immediately, you know. And they sent them on, but not me. I was stuck in the last boat out there. So they left us out there to spy out the land. It wasn't intentional. We were in dry dock. And I left. A boat came through one day called the Regulars. And their leading telegraphers had gone sick. So they whipped me in to make up one to get them through to the Mediterranean. On the way, we ran into a trawler, a British trawler, on the surface, going on, and he was dropping depth charges. He collared an Italian U-boat, the Galilea, on the surface of this thing. And I had to lose, the bloke that I relieved, done to take over that one to get it through to the Mediterranean.
I don't know why they got rid of the tuna. They should have kept it for Gosport. They've got the Alliance. Have you been on the Alliance?
Yes, I have.
But that wasn't in the war. But it's a similar size to the tuna. It took about as many men. You went for your DSM.
Yeah, but where was I?
Where were you? It's in here. Look, straight away. Your letter from the Admiralty was dated 5th of July 43, and you went in front of the King George VI, all right, to get your medal.
That's how they did it.
And that you got it on the 24th of July 1945, so it was just after the war. It's all here. Quinton's got it.
Are you upset that you can't go to Bordeaux?
I would like to have gone.
Well, Malcolm Cavan did ask, but he's written a very nice. He realises that because he's on water tablets, I have to do his eyes. It's not easy. But Ray,
He'd like to have gone.
Wouldn't do the journey.
No.
Malcolm Cavan said it's 5 hours. You see, once you get over the channel, it's still 5 hours down to. They're going to this Aquitaine place or something with these memorials. Yeah, Aquitaine. That's where it's going to be.
But we sank when I was in Chile.
But Norman Colley's not going either. Malcolm Cavan told me he's 90, he's not going. So Ray's nearly 95. So.
Yeah. Was there ever a time you thought that you would not survive, that you would die under the water?
Every bloody minute. It's terrible. Terrified. The boy said to me, "What did you do in the war?" You know, he said, "What were you in the war?" I'm very terrified. And I was too. I don't think those submarines were safe. Do you?
Frightened when you come up from up the Mediterranean from the Far East, and you know the oxygen runs out.
As long as we got cut out 36 hours, as long as I've ever been died. We couldn't do. We had no means in those days of changing the area.
You didn't have snorkels?
No, before the war now. Oh. That was just coming from the Dutch. There is a Dutch invention, you see, and the Germans got it first. Yeah, when they captured Holland, of course, there was a U-boat in there, Russian submarine, in the dockyard, all fitted up for them. And they got it first, you see, the Germans. They were the first to use it.
They stole it from the Dutch?
Yes.
He had the luck of the devil. When he got off, he lost a lot of his friends.
But the British T-boat was the finest submarine ever invented. You know, we used to carry 17 torpedoes. That's a lot of torpedoes to carry.
Look, which one is that?
That's a tuna, isn't it?
No, that's a tuna there.
Which is the other one then?
Yeah. They're on this little thing. Tempest. I can't read that.
So
one.
what boat were you with when you were under the water for 36 hours?
Rover.
The Germans.
I've been moved from the Rover to the Regulus.
Oh, you were in the Regulus?
Regulus, yeah.
And where were you? In the Mediterranean, the North Sea?
It was off Cyprus. So when the Germans were attacking Cyprus, which they captured, of course.
And you were just off Cyprus?
Yeah. And
at the bottom of the Med?
We got hit by a bomb. I'd gone. We got hit by a bomber, or we could read any, and she busted through them.
You see this?
Oh, right.
They're cracking it.
But you just left her. Regulus was hit by a bomber. Right, but you'd just been transferred.
I had. I was sent home. But yeah, that's it. The first raid we ever did in Tuna was at Bagstow. BAAGO, and the idea was this: you went in. It's never been done before. Like the army were to attack it on the ground, like, take a landing craft, go in. It's an island, you see, and grab this thing and put the German guns out of action on it. The north of Norway, did you see it? And the boats we had, there was the Tuna, Tigress, or Triton. No, Tuna, Triton, and there's another one, Tiger, but whatever, it doesn't matter. We got on this thing, and the idea was to get the boat in there, just stick the light up through, and there's a story for you. And keep it light, and the army could find their way in with it. Our army, that is, you see, get in, and they did, it worked. But on the way out, it turned the surface and was immediately bombed by the RAF. It's been badly damaged. The thing is that when I was working for civil aviation in South Africa, I heard him talking about one night about this sort of thing. So I listened to what he was saying, and he was an ex-RAF pilot, you see. And I said, excuse me, I said, did you bomb a boat coming out of Bagso very early in the war? Oh yes, he said. I said, well, thank you very much, it was my boat. I said, bloody crumb, everything was busted up inside, completely shattered.
Can you have a look at that? That's Eileen.
Yep.
Eileen.
She's dead now.
Yeah.
You look a lovely pair.
You look a lovely pair.
Did you marry in Chelmsford?
No, I don't think he was
No,
that.
Frankton. No. She was only 19 and he was only 22.
She was Canadian, really.
It must have been a love at first sight.
It was. It really was. And we got married all within a fortnight.
In
Thing about the ceremony there, look, that takes place. That
Okay.
is there.
The ceremony takes place at 1300 hours on March the 31st, and it will be a very special occasion with a very good representation of our patrons
They're
attending.
the patrons there.
As much as we would love it if you could both be there, we quite understand the reasons you mentioned that make it impossible. By Ray's great age and the usual health implications of that accompany anyone of that age, I know you will both be with us in spirit. Rest assured we'll meet one day, hopefully in the not too distant future. Remember this little thought: by your donation you are now part of a fine memorial. You helped us to make it.
Well,
And that's from Malcolm
yeah,
Cavan.
yeah, well, he's the retired Marine Major. And do you know, he said to me, I was outside your house. So I said, really? It was him that drove Quinton down with the Frenchman.
But never came in.
No, but I said, Quinton mucks about. I said, who's that in the car out there? I couldn't see it. I mean, I knew he'd backed it up. So he said, oh, that's another Frenchman and he doesn't speak English, so he doesn't want to come in. And I told Malcolm Cavan the other day and he says, the lying toad. But Quinton mucks about. I mean, he's written the most marvellous book. We never thought he'd do it. I mean, it's absolutely wonderful, that book.
What do you think about Quinton's book?
Oh, we like the book.
Oh, it's wonderful. It's really.
It's more accurate than the film.
Oh, good heavens! He's done it.
He's interviewed anybody that was alive.
This is what he's written it for. The truth.
Yes.
Not that rubbish in the film.
But obviously Raymond's contribution is massive.
Oh, yes. Oh, well, he had all his
Massive.
papers, yeah.
Raymond should really have been a journalist. A good writer.
Yeah.
You should have been a journalist, Raymond.
When we landed in Norway, that's what I was going to tell you. Quentin said to us, there's only 12 of us in the group. We only had pistols, you see. He said, you better pull the trigger on them, you know. And so I went down through this boat, and it's just what we were looking for. And as I passed the wireless office, the door swung open, and there's a big German there, you see, Roswell. He didn't know I was there either, and we both came out and said, I said, and a hug. And he said, dare I say it?
Yes? What did he say?
He said, what are you, an effing cowboy? I had my big 6-shooter. I said, you bloody cheat. I got talking to him. And he was one of these unfortunate Germans. He went to see his aunt, a relation of his mother, in Canada, or was it America?
No, he was in America and he went back to Germany to see an army.
Yeah.
And they made him stay and join
They got him because it's just a job for him. He'd already done his training, you see.
They wouldn't let him go, the Germans, you see. He couldn't go back to
So
America.
he was fluent in English?
Well, yeah, I mean,
He was
must have
fluent,
been,
yeah.
because
Right.
who went up and ousted it was Frankton, wasn't it? Ousted the people out of the Germans out of that big villa they were in Norway.
Where did they camp?
Well, he went up there and they were still residing in there, and he said, "You people get out."
Oh, I said, yes, he would. I just looked up and he said, out. House. Down. And he kicked him out, and beautiful, it was all equipped with wines, and we lived like at home.
Did you know Ray went to school at Greenwich?
I went to school.
At 14 he went to the naval school at Greenwich.
I did.
Yeah, a few years ago. That's August 02. Well, it's not, I mean, he took me up to where his room was, but it's part of a restaurant now or something. Not that, we went at Westminster Abbey.
Well, they're lovely hat you
That was 2001. And we were shown to our seats by royalty, weren't we? Do you remember?
Oh, yeah.
I had another captain sit next to me, I've forgotten his name.
Yeah, Barlow.
Oh, yeah.
China,
He sat with me, and he lived at Highgate, because I come from Muswell Hill in London, so I knew Highgate. And we rang him a few times, but then he died, so... but he sat with us, didn't he, in the Abbey. So. And you had that Frankton in front of you, and you didn't speak to him. That tall chap was Frankton.
He was the one that took me in, yeah. I went to
Captain Barlow spoke to him.
Yeah, no, Frankton. He's only a young man. I was 26, so I was rich. Pretty big.
Yes.
Oh, that was good. But that was, we had to get these, you see, obviously, you know, like everybody else, in the First World War, when we captured them, they scuttled all the ships we captured. And we were trying to get these before they could sink them. And we did. Good of us, right? Well, we went eminently, and these U-boats, we got 3 for ourselves, 3 for Russia, and 3 for America. And I took all the stuff out of them. Radios and...
This is after the war?
Yeah, the war was just about it.
You dismantled all their equipment?
Look, this is how he looked a few years ago.
Oh.
Because we were going to church on the... that was... got the date on.
Who is it?
That's you, when we went to church on the Remembrance Sunday, some years ago. He can wear his medal on the Remembrance Sunday, you see. So. He can wear 2 Russian medals now, I bet.
Yes, we had 2 Russian.
He's got some of his Russian medals to wear them the other side. It was
beautiful,
his house. It wasn't the embassy. It was his private house.
His house, wasn't it? Yeah.
It was wonderful. We thought they'd be all stiff and starchy, and they were most friendly. Greeted you at the door laughing, and there was one of the naval officers who was about 7 foot tall. He showed us into the room, and I was looking into his waist, and I looked up and he was grinning. One was short, but there were about 40 there for medals, but most of them were on convoys. I think he was the only submariner there, actually. But they got the medal. He shouted out, Raymond Arthur Wellsman Quick, with a great loud voice. And they all got 3 red tulips and their medal, and they put on a lovely do, food-wise, very dainty, beautiful things.
Any caviar?
Well, I expect there was there, but they had the most marvellous fruit arrangement. That place was called the Orangery that we went in. And I said, can we go in the garden? You can go anywhere, they said. So it was the most beautiful house. Had 2 grand pianos in it.
You wouldn't expect finesse from the Russians, would you? Place like that.
But my daughter-in-law is Russian, and she'd only just gone back because we could have taken her. There was no limit. There's some were up there with their whole families, you know. But she had phoned about his medals in Russian for us and that.
I said to this fellow, when do you want us to go? And he said in English, please, you bloody so. First the NAB, NAD, that's that, you know, those towers at the sound of, when you can see them from, you know, when you look out you see them on the ships. They use them as hotels now. They were built in Napoleon's day, apparently, for defend the ships. First the NAB, the first one was the NAB, then there was the Warner, then Blockhouse Corner, of course we always scraped the bottom as you were in.
That's what yours there.
Well, not for the jobs they were doing. I mean, like our people, so going in, like ours, going into the what name? They had smaller ones. And then we had 10 U-boats, that's right. Because I was on U-10 myself at one time, I know that. No, and we just picked their brains, and I took them out and torpedoed them. It was good ones. Nobody kept them. The Americans didn't keep them. The Russians didn't keep the 3 that we gave them. Yeah, well, I don't know what the Russians did, but the Americans sunk theirs just the same as we did. Didn't want them. You just thought they'd pick their brains anyway.
Well, you'd think they keep them as souvenirs
Yeah,
in museums.
You would have thought them in a museum, wouldn't you? But they were huge. That class they had.
Look, here's Captain Rakes as he was when we went down to see him. Look.
Oh, smashing. A few years ago now.
Well, a few years. I mean, he died in 2005, so it was before that. I probably got a
junior, is he?
There's my son with him there, because he drove us down.
Are you looking for ships?
No, he wanted to see. He wanted to see something round there. What was that thing he wanted to see in the churchyard? Something out there. There's Ray, Captain Rakes. And we've been in the pub for lunch. He always took us in the pub for lunch. But he was about, 91, 92 there, something.
So he was older than you?
Yeah, a bit older, yeah. Let's have a look. 2002, so 90. He was 90 there, I've got 90. Oh, yeah. Well, he lived for 3 more years. But the last time we went down, we didn't take photographs then, but he was very tired, wasn't he? Because he said about 3 o'clock, it's time for my sleep. That's what he wanted to see. Simon took him round to see that.
What is it?
I don't know. Some model of
right.
sitting up on a horse. Perhaps I've written it down. No, that's just a statue at church. Because he lived at Shaftesbury, that's where he was in that place. He had his own flat in a sort of home, you know. But I mean, his mum moved house God knows how many times from Dartmouth to Paynton, wasn't it?
Yeah.
He came home on leave and sometimes he didn't know where she was. His mum.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's the Captain Rakes. There's your tea there, Raymond.
Somebody was there. Oh, thank you.
There you are, look.
I know when we used to get cheesed up, used to give him a rifle and send him ashore up in Scotland and say, go and get some meat or something. And he'd come up with a bloody deer across his back.
So you had a gypsy for a cook?
Yeah, where's Iris? We could fuck it off.
Was this on Tuna?
Yeah, Iris.
What?
That gypsy, I can never remember the gypsy cook.
Gypsy Joe?
Cook, yeah.
Joe?
Yeah.
Yeah, they had a cook, Gypsy.
Really?
Because Captain Rakes said, what's a gypsy doing on my boat?
But then going down to do a dive, and I heard Chip muttering to himself, I hope he doesn't go too deep.
You're having trouble.
But he did go too deep, and the bottles went pop, pop, pop.
bottles were going pop, pop.
The beer bottles, yes, they were, you know. You kept them in the cases.
Was it the pressure?
Yeah. Terrible. When I was kept in that 24 hours, 36 hours rather, they used to have a drop kill in those small big boats. And this road used to come through my office, because it was underneath. And you know, I watched this thing, trying to death, and as the boat went down through, they grumbled, and the circle got smaller and smaller, till he stopped. Then when he came up again, it's right, the pressure just squeezed it in. Terrible. Well, ours knows, he's heard of mine.
Were you ever depth charged?
Yeah, when they came up from the being out the Far East up the Mediterranean, they were immediately depth charged, and they had to stay down a long time. That's what frightened him. A long time, because then the air gets rotten, you see. You know, they in other books they said that, you know, the Mediterranean, they could see the sub. I'll take you.
It's lovely, Aaron.
What was it?
You want any more?
Please.
That's my own made-up thing.
Yeah.
In the Mediterranean, they must have been able to see you under the water because it was so clear.
Yeah, well, yes, they could. But they didn't, we just used to keep still, you know, for the best. The first one that moved, got it, was it. My name Ben Bryan, he had nothing else out there, so he just blew a train off the track all the way up and went along beside it. And if you see a submarine flag with a railway engine on it and the carriages, it was him. They said, if they sank anything, see him in the corner. He sank the train.
Sank a train?
He sank the train on the beach, yeah. It's in, you can see it in that room, come across it. It wasn't me. It was not my fault, it was another one. Ben Bryant.
What about that one that they shut the hatch and he was swimming in the North Sea?
Well, it's Jump, wasn't it?
Yeah, who was it?
It's Jump.
Oh,
Lieutenant Jump.
Lieutenant Jump, yeah.
Yeah.
He closed the hatch and dived, and when Captain Rates looked out, he could see him swimming in the sea. Go, yeah. So he had to. They were 30 feet down, so he had to come up.
He was a solicitor, wasn't he? He was a solicitor, Dick Rake said.
Oh yes, he said he might make a very good solicitor, but he was hopeless as a sailor.
He said, I don't know if he was a very good solicitor, he said, but he was a very poor submarine officer. He was as well. Because I went out and there was a water pouring in the top end. But Dickie Race had this present of mind to shut the lower lid. Otherwise we'd have all been dead anyway. And left him up there. So when he went out, wet through, there was old Jump swimming behind trying to catch him.
It's in Quinton's book, I think. He said he was about 30 yards away or something.
And what did Dickie Race stood on the top of the periscope, didn't he? To say it was Jesus coming.
Oh, God.
I think. Yes, it is comical moments, you know. You gotta laugh.
How many crew would there be to a submarine normally?
Pardon?
How many crew would you have in a submarine normally?
No, 67.
About 57.
In the
U-boat, 57,
U-boat,
wasn't it, in your group?
well, the U-boats had 27, and up to the T's had 67 hours. We had, in our mess, we had 9 of us, plus the steward, of course. That was from there to there, isn't it? Roughly. That's, if you take, say each person would get what? 2 foot? Mm-hmm. No more. I shouldn't get no more than 2 feet. So you can't across there and then tell you how many that way and that way. You work it yourself.
The first Sea Lord gives a good write-up here.
Yeah, I wonder you haven't got that written down somewhere.
He's on about the responsibility of Captain Rates, because he could have bought the thing if he thought it wasn't right. And
What was that?
The picture of Rates that comes across is one of calmly determined man who knew his boat and his men inside out.